Brad Williams, Frugal Finance. Let's talk more about taking control of your auto loan. This, again, is a lengthy document provided by consumerfinance.gov. And what I'm trying to do is just report on an unbiased basis so you're not swayed by some slick salesman. I have nothing to do with any government agency. This is an independent analysis from my point of view. Look, if you want numbers, if you want the quantitative side of Frugal Finance, then check out my website. I have 20 some odd courses here. It's all the numbers. And if you're looking at something related to the auto sector, we're going to look at here in terms of present value. If you look here, mortgage, borrowing, and refinance. Look, the courses are anywhere from 99 cents to $6. The cost is simply to cover the expense of this stuff. And again, it's all numbers. So back to the course here, taking control of your auto loan, step-by-step guide, 21 pages. I'll try to go through this as quick as possible. How can this guide help you? How about budgeting for a loan, understanding your auto financing choices, shopping for your auto loan, negotiating your auto loan, and then closing the deal? How to use this guide? There are resources after resources. A link will be posted below. And again, CFPB, I like this particular agency. However, it is the 17th of January, 2025. And who knows on Tuesday what's going to happen to CFPB, given that this new administration does not like this agency. That being said, I'll try to get this available to you, and who knows what the outcome will be for CFPB. Budgeting for your auto loan, that's key. There are auto loans for 6 or 7 years. That's just senseless. In my opinion, save. Just save up for a larger down payment. Do not get sucked into, and I say interest sucking. If you go 6 or 7 years for a car that you're going to keep for 3 or 4, all you're doing is paying interest. You're going to lose value in the car and you're going to be upside down. And subsequently, you're going to be stuck with this loan and the principal amount is just idle. And you sell your car after 3 years and you're going to go, I still owe $27,000 on a $30,000 loan. Yep. So save for a larger down payment. Clearly, buy a less expensive vehicle, and then do you need all the bells and whistles? I'm not a driver. I try to cycle everywhere I can. If I need anything that I can't put into a backpack, I have a nice little cart that I can connect to my bike. Why? I like exercise, personally. If I can take care of it via a bike and a trailer, I'm good. Otherwise, I have an old vehicle. It's a 92 Explorer. I'm an original owner. I don't drive it much, but it's there if I need it. In terms of what I see people driving, it just behooves me. Ford pickup truck is $65,000. For a friggin' pickup truck. Kidding me? But anyway, I'm going to voice a lot of my opinions. I'm probably going to go off on some tangents, but links, budgets. I know you're going, Williams, no one budgets for anything. Well, you should. Or you should know in the back of your mind where your expenses are. I ask people, they just kind of chuckle. Oh, we spent a little bit of money here. We spent a little money here. Oh, we bought this, we bought that. Again, it's frugal finance. Hence, think about where you're spending. Look, do your research. This is all about coming prepared. When you walk into or when you go online, know what you're doing. Know what the markets, know the prices, know a little bit about the vehicle. Okay, know a lot about the vehicle. Warranties, that's critical. And most important, what happens if your car needs to be repaired? We are seeing day in and day out, schlocky companies like Deere and Company, John Deere tractors, they are friggin' thieves. And they force farmers, growers, the ag sector, anytime a John Deere tractor needs repaired, you have to go to an authorized dealer. And, I used to be thumbs up for John Deere, but not any longer. FTC sued them yesterday, and it's been an ongoing battle for this repair. You, as a consumer, should be able to take that car anywhere you want to have it repaired. So that's critical. When you're diving into buying anything these days, make sure you have the right to repair your car yourself or any dealership available. Look beyond the monthly payment. And I just said, you're going to have this negative equity deal. You do these longer loans, you're going to end up upside down. And then you're going to go, well, that wasn't very smart. Again, take care of your car. If you're looking at buying another car, save. Clearly, the best thing is to pay cash. And second, your credit score. I know I'm a little ahead of myself, but the two things you need to do is your due diligence and know your credit score. If you got a crappy credit score, don't even think about buying a car. Don't think about much other than babysitting, fixing whatever's impacting your credit score. You're shooting for a 720 and you're going, well, I've got this and I got that. Well, if some butts brought candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. You can make up whatever excuses you are, but the numbers speak for themselves. Shoot for that 720. If you have lates, fix your lates. If you have problems with a credit reporting company, report them. They're just as bad as anyone else. They need to be slapped around. So if you continue to see mistakes from any of the three major credit bureaus, then do something about it. I know. Turn off the damn television. Turn off that crap social media and focus on your problem. Factor in all the costs of ownership. Well, driving is expensive. Owning is expensive. Insurance, gas, registration, maintenance and repairs. This annual registration, that's just ridiculous what the states are charging. But what do? Look ahead to the resale value. That's a tough one. I know there are a lot of people that are in sales and they refuse to lease, so they own a car for 3 years and they buy new. I don't know if that's always the smartest thing, but if you're driving 100,000 miles in a 3 to 4 year period, then just from experience that you're not going to get much in terms of the resale value. So there's enough resources out there. Do your due diligence. Understand your auto financing choices. They're endless. Here's my recommendation. Shop. Just keep shopping. Check your credit unions. They're sort of under the hood, but credit unions are great. They're competitive. My recommendation is to always try to find a credit union. Banks, I don't know, shop. And then non-bank auto financing company. Remember, everyone's out there to make a buck, but non-bank auto financing companies, they're filling a void. If the credit union won't do your loan or if a bank won't do your loan, that's kind of raising a red flag. So then there's always these non-bank auto financing that are just going to take you to the cleaner. So again, if you follow this crooked trail, it all starts with your credit. And if your credit's pathetic, and I get it, you need a car to get to work. Why can't you ride a bike? Okay, so you ride 5 miles each way. Not only good for you, you don't have to deal with all this auto financing crap. Yeah, but it's cold or it snows. Yeah, I get it. In some cases, you can't ride a bike or you can't walk. There's nothing wrong with alternatives. So just keep that in mind, especially if you have questionable credit scores. If your credit scores are bad, you're going to get jacked by these horrible rates and horrible terms and horrible conditions. So keep that in mind. Dealer arranged financing, I'd shy away from it. There are some instances where, let's say it's September of the year, auto companies, the manufacturers, want to offload their models. So they'll come up with promotional deals. And it could just be a car specific. It could be time specific. That's where your dealer arranged financing may come in. But otherwise, if it's a general purchase, in other words, it's just a general car, check your credit union and so on and so forth. Check your banks. See what's out there. There's endless resources. Just spend the time to educate yourself. When the dealer presents you the interest rate and the rest of the details of the loan through dealer arranged financing, take the opportunity to negotiate. You can ask, can you offer me a lower rate based on my credit score? You can show them a lower quote if you've gotten from another source like a bank or credit union. Here's my suggestion, and I make this recommendation in my other videos. When you're doing this, practice. In other words, on a Saturday morning, you go to a car dealership. Make sure you don't take a wallet. Make sure you never give your keys to I've just heard different stuff, but never give your keys to a salesman at an auto dealership. And don't sign anything, but negotiate and spend a couple hours. Yeah, you're wasting their time, but you're learning some of the tactics. And do this a couple times. That way you're prepared. You think a marathon runner doesn't prepare before a marathon? You think an actor or actress doesn't prepare before filming a particular movie? You're not any different. So prepare. Buy here, pay here. Oh, you've heard of these payday loans? Well, they're not any better. No credit, no problem. You're going to get cleaned. You are going to be a victim. And I'm just forewarning you that if you have poor credit or no credit, well, they're going to hit you with a 30% interest rate. And if you thought a 6% interest rate could put you in a negative situation, can you imagine a 25 or 30% auto loan? And what they do is they tack it on to the purchase price of the car. So they'll disguise it saying your interest rate is 7%, but the APR is 28%. But we just added $5,000 to the purchase price of your car. That's why the APR jumped up, because they're going to cover that particular interest one way or another. Then once you fall behind, your vehicle's at risk. So they can put tracking systems on your car in order to find the car and then repossess it. Yeah, it's a sad thing. Moral of the story here is your credit. Focus on your credit. Yeah, I can get it. You have 3 kids. You have a tough time holding a job, so you're bouncing around from job to job. You have to own a car to get from point A to point B. Without it, you're sort of between a rock and a hard place. I get it. Yeah, I get it. That's life. But what got you into a 560 credit in the first place? Understanding how leasing works, yeah. I'm not a fan of leasing unless you're self-employed or you own a company and the company just leases these vehicles for a short period of time. I'm not going to focus too terribly much on the leasing side. But again, there's some resources here that you can touch up on. Shopping for your auto loan, just shop. And that's the bottom line. Just shop until you find what you need. There are endless resources. You can go to banks. You can go online. You can use a broker, and again, I call them brokers. If you go to, and these are horrible, but perhaps you can, maybe it'll consolidate all the information you need. You go online and they'll go, well, we'll give you quotes from 9 different sources. Well, when you do that, here's just a suggestion. Go to Gmail or wherever and open up a fictitious email, because once you do this, you go and you shop through one of these quasi resources that will provide you endless quote information. They're going to bombard you with just spam. I mean, there's endless. So be sure to use a particular email that you don't use very often, or you use it just for purposes like this. Prepare, okay, your credit report. Here's where you can get a free annual credit report. And then a lot of credit card companies will provide your credit score, and it's live. In other words, you can check it on a day-to-day basis. But an annual credit report, you can see what's going on. You can see why you're late. You can see any dings on your credit. If you have any dings, when I mean dings, late payments. If you have medically related incidents or you're late on your credit cards or what have you, you need to clean all that stuff up. And again, there's a lot of different opinions. If you have just an endless number of credit cards, some people say don't close them. I just say that's a short-term opinion. If you have more than 6 credit cards, get rid of them. If you have more than 2 credit cards, get rid of them, in my opinion. Will it affect your credit score? Well, most likely you have a crappy credit score already. So if you start cleaning up your credit score, that's one means of addressing it. Don't rob Peter to pay Paul. You're actually using your credit cards as an arbitrage. What I mean by arbitrage, you're using credit card 1, and then because credit card 6 has a bit lower rate, you jump to 6, and once that's maxed out, then you go to credit card 2. It's just an endless cycle, and you lack debt management, and you need to stop buying crap you don't need and focus on cleaning up your credit. I'm going to just pound the table on that topic, and it's over and over and over. Just FYI, I'm almost 50 years of doing this. I owned a mortgage company forever. I've seen so many friggin' credit reports. I help people clean up their credit reports. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work in order to get from a 610 credit up to 720. But you're not any different if you run into that situation. It's just a matter of addressing your issues and stop spending. But here's the funny thing. I did a lot of refinancing. I did a lot of purchases. I did just a whole bunch of everything. As soon as people that I helped clean up their credit reports, credit scores, etc., they got through whatever financing they needed to do, they just revert right back to their old friggin' habits. Look, there's nothing I can do, but all right, cosigners. I have other videos on cosigners, and I might list it up here if I remember. My suggestion is you as a cosigner, don't do it. Why? The only way I would suggest you acting as a cosigner is if your name's also on the title. In other words, if you're cosigning for a auto, if the buyer goes upside down, well, you need to step in and take ownership of the car. But ultimately, here's the bottom line. You are responsible. Now, I've heard horror stories, and this is just horrible. And this is the industry, and it just drives me nuts. Student loans, the individuals, and this is just endless. You can go online and you can read these forever and ever and ever. Cosigners sign for a student loan. The individual has medical issues and passes away. There's no forgiveness there. So you, as the cosigner, are stuck with that student loan. Yeah. So can you imagine the horror stories there? I know you love your kids. You'll do anything in the world to get them through college. Yeah, I get it. But keep in mind, doesn't matter if you're co-signing for a mortgage, student loan, car loan, what have you. You're ultimately responsible, so know your responsibilities. Check current auto loan interest rates. Well, clearly, you need to keep that in mind, what interest rates are. Then you need to know how your payment structures work. So just keep that in mind. Consider a larger down payment. It just makes sense. You're not going to have huge monthly payments. Now, here's the deal. Never, ever, when you walk into a dealership, ever focus on, well, I can only afford $200 a month. Well, that's just like taking candy from a baby, all right? It's easy to go, well, $200 a month. Well, you can't deal with a 36-month loan. Well, why don't we stretch it out to 6 years? Don't do it. Just don't do it. Focus on this down payment. Focus on the down payment. That way, when it's time for you to step up and buy a car, then you're going to be able to afford that monthly payment. Decide if you want to trade in your current vehicle. Again, if you plan on trading in, never ever tell the dealership ahead of time. That's just terms for negotiating. And here's a bunch of resources. I repeat these over and over and over again. I have no idea what they do. I mean, I know what they do, but since I don't shop cars, Kelley Blue Book has been around forever, but then you have Consumer Reports and Edmunds and JD Power. So make sure you just do your due diligence. What to consider when you still owe money for a car you're trading in? Well, what's the payoff amount? If you owe $5,000 on the car and it's only worth $4,000, then you're going to have a negative $1,000 that you're going to have to do something with. That's either you come out of pocket, or guess what dealerships like to do? They'll just throw that into the new pot of add-ons to your new loan. The term is upside down, negative equity. You can see how this works. Now keep in mind, everyone knows this, and perhaps I'll just remind you. You drive a car off the lot, a new car, it immediately drops 20 to 25% in value. Literally, you just drive off. Well, what's the moral of the story there? Why buy new? I know, it's shiny. Think about additional add-ons ahead of time. Well, those add-ons, they all benefit the auto dealership, and you are stuck with the overpriced add-ons. Service contracts or extended warranties, really? If an automaker, and these are new cars, if a car isn't built worth a darn, in other words, car shouldn't have any problems for the first 5 years. So why would you need a service contract or extended warranty? Think twice. This is huge markups for the dealership. Guaranteed asset protection insurance, again, it's a scam. Credit insurance, a scam. Additional features of the vehicle, alarm systems, window tinting, wire protection. This, shop around. Third-party sources. You're going to find that there are third parties out there that will do this for probably 60% less. And again, this is all negotiable. So you can play hard. If you shop around and you see what the market charges for this stuff, say, look, I don't really give a crap about your add-ons, but if you want to throw an alarm system, here's the market price. This is why I said at the very beginning, this is where you practice. If you're not practiced, guess what's going to happen? You're going to walk in and you're going to get the willy-nillys. You're going to get this rush of adrenaline. You can't stop. It's just part of the deal. And the dealerships know that. But if you walk in a little grizzled, it's women also. Go in looking pretty and what have you, but draw just a hard bargain with these folks. Bottom line is, if you can walk in without your stomach all going left and right and what have you, and if you can keep that adrenaline and your blood pressure down, then guess what? You can negotiate a better deal. If you walk in a little bit nervous, if you have a little bit of anxiety, you're going to forget a lot of the details. You're going to forget what these salespeople are telling you. That's just the way it is. It's just the way things work. Everything is traveling at 900 miles an hour because it's all so new. All you're looking at is the new car and the smell of the new car. You're not thinking about anything else. So you overlook, somebody throws a document in front of you and you sign it, and then you have buyer remorse. Again, it's just practice, practice, practice. Shop for an auto loan. You have to spend some time up front in order to do this. Gather your personal information. Never give any of this information until you're ready to do a deal. If you walk into a dealership, you sense some unprofessionalism, they're not the only people selling cars, all right? Go next door. It doesn't matter what car it is. Just what you need to do is figure out what details, what the process is. And don't say, look, I'm practicing. Say, look, I'm ready to buy. Hey, they lie, you can lie. It's part of the negotiating deal. Again, get pre-approval. Always get pre-approval. What do I mean? You can either go into a dealership and say, give me your best deal before I start talking about buying. That's why you go online. You can go to a credit union, you can go to a bank, you can go to third-party sources. I don't recommend third-party sources, but you have a lot of options. Take the time. Spend up to 3 months ahead of time before you buy. Understand how shopping for a loan impacts your credit score? In the old days, this used to ding credit scores because you would go to 4 or 5 dealerships and they'd pull your credit report. And each time you pulled a credit report, it impacted your overall credit score. Now, that model has been improved. I raised Cain about that long ago. Again, Equifax, Experian, and whatever the third one is. They've improved their software. That should not impact your credit score. Know your rights. We have this Consumer Credit Protection Act. Again, we have this stuff here that's always there, but people just go, well, it's just another government agency. They won't do anything. You won't know unless there's a complaint and you file a complaint whether they do their job or not. Okay, negotiating your auto loan. You shop for your auto loan. Now it's time to negotiate your loan terms. This is critical. Remember, I opened this up and said a 5 or 6 year loan for a car? That's insane. Don't do it. Don't do it. Why? If you go here to my courses and you go down here to the mortgage, borrowing, and refinancing, it's the same principle. Okay, spend $5. I have a whole bunch of different models in here. I think there's probably 22 different courses in this particular section. Maybe more. If not, use a calculator. Probably a link to a calculator here. If not, I'll provide a calculator. You can crunch your numbers to see what's going on here. Know what's negotiable. You're going to focus on your trade-in value, your APR. This is critical. Most people go, well, APR. Well, you're going to have an interest rate. You're going to have a note on your loan. Let's say 6%. Great, fine. 6% is a nice rate. But at the bottom of the page, the dealer has to provide this document to you. You're going to have this annual percentage rate. And it shows 9.7%. You're going, wait a minute. You just said you're selling me on a 6% interest rate, but now they have an APR 9%. That 9% is all the add-on crap that you threw into your original loan. So you could have all kinds of junk thrown in there. So now you're paying 9.7%. You're going, So that is critical. If you don't know your APR, then back up and get an understanding of what APR is. Let's say it's a $10,000 loan, but then there is $2,200 in just registration fees and all of these other add-ons, and they just throw that on. That will affect your APR. Then the length of the loan, that's critical. Well, you just need to look at what's called an amortization schedule. An amortization schedule will pencil out, will show you what the overall cost of that deal is. In other words, you're paying interest for 6 years. That's a chunk of money. Whether or not there's a prepayment penalty, be careful here. That is horrible. You never, ever want a prepayment penalty, period. If you have a prepayment penalty, move on. Find another resource. Price of optional features. This is just junk. You're going to see these extended warranties, credit life, gap insurance, tire and wheel protection. Really? Window tinting and other. Really? Come on. Fees charged by the dealer, such as dealer prep fees. Delivery. See, this is all just garbage. And this is why you need to know ahead of time. You're just going to say no to this, no to that. And they're going to go, well, we have to do it. Say, well, adios. And be prepared to walk away. Be prepared to walk away and start over. It's not that big of a deal. It's a friggin' car. Negotiate to lower the total cost, not just the monthly payments. So what you're focusing on here is the amount financed, the finance charge, and your total loan costs. Remember I said you have a note rate of 6%, but now all of a sudden you got this total loan cost that went from 10 grand to 12.2 because they threw in all this garbage. And you're going to go, ain't going to happen. If you walk in, as I stated earlier, and you're nervous, you're going to overlook all this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with having a checklist. You think airline pilots just walk into a plane, start it up and go, let's take off? They have a checklist, literally. They check it off one by one. So why don't you, when you walk into a dealership, have a checklist and say, look, I'm a pilot. I'm not going to do anything different here than I would when I take off on a flight. You're not any different. You're just selling me a car. So here's my checklist. Now, in terms of how the length of your loan term affects what you pay, Look at this. Remember I said how nasty this can get? 36 months, you're going to pay, this is on a $20,000 loan at 4.75. This is a great illustration. Very simple. Look at this. Isn't that amazing? So you're going to pay $597 a month, and you're going to pay $14.98 in interest. Remember I said, well, I can only afford $200 a month. Well, all right, why don't we just say it's only $320 a month? Well, yeah, there's that convenience factor, $320, but you're going to pay $3,000 in interest. Good for them, bad for you. Concentrate on your credit score, concentrate on your down payment, concentrate on this purchase price. Negotiate. Look, people for some reason think that they have to shop in the neighborhood. My goodness, go around, find a dealership outside of your living radius. In other words, if there's a rural area that doesn't spend any money on advertising, and you just go online and say, look, this is what I'm looking for. Give me a price. You can go out a 50-mile radius, and that's a pretty big radius. That's going to cover a lot of territory, and see if there's a better price. There's nothing wrong with driving 30 miles. Now, personally, when I bought my car a zillion years ago, this is well before the advent of all this high-tech stuff we have today in terms of online resources. We were just at the beginning of the email phase, and it was 92, so we were still using fax modems where it went beep, beep, before you even can log on, and it was horribly slow. But I went ahead and I contact 12 different dealers within a 6-mile radius, and I emailed them all before Gmail and what have you. That's how I negotiated. This is well before all this stuff that we can do today. But I negotiated, I didn't step into a dealership, period. I negotiated the best price via email and walked in, gave them a check and said, adios. That was it. It was simple. I didn't have to deal with the crap. What I did was I looked at and I don't know if you can still do this, but I looked at what the dealer was selling commercial rates. They can bluff all they want. But if you say, give me a commercial rate, in other words, a bulk purchase, you never know if the dealer bought a bunch of vehicles for dealers. In this particular dealership, they were working with, I think, the police department. They overbought some of the vehicles, and they go, look, I've got this deal, and here's the commercial. Or they may use a different terms, but you just never know. Ask them, say, look, you guys do bulk purchases for cities or states. Do you have any overstock of that stuff? You don't know unless you ask. Keep track of multiple factors. Now, here's the deal. You can get overwhelmed, contact 15 different dealerships and lenders. That's a lot of information. You're going to get overwhelmed. Like, oh my goodness, I got too much stuff here. I did this recently with a home improvement deal, and I had to contact a bunch of electrical contractors, and I just can't believe how scammy they are. But I just went online. In California, all contractors they have to have an email address and their name and what have you. One way or another, I contacted within a 3-mile radius of electrical contractors, and there were, I think 35. So I emailed all 35. Half of them only did commercial work, and the other ones did residential. 10 replied, not one decided to come out. They just did it all online, and the prices were staggering. I mean, I ended up doing it myself. It was just that ridiculous what these people wanted for something that was pretty basic. It was electrical. And I have a family member that has license to do all this. That was not the issue. The issue here was the price, and it was staggering. I mean, the point here is it doesn't matter what you're negotiating. Contact a lot of people. You're going to get probably maybe a 60% response. And then from there, you're going to weed that down to 3 or 4. Then you're going to go, well, who's reputable? Now, if you're using used car dealerships, I don't know what to tell you there. That is a whole different ball of wax. And let me know. Let me know if you're able to even negotiate with used car dealerships. Now, I'm not talking about what are the 2 large publicly traded. One had a lot of financial difficulties, what have you. Anyway, I know they have a pretty good reputation. Let me know. I'm just focusing on newer deals. Closing the deal, walk in prepared. Verify that you get what you agreed to. So make sure your APR is what it is. The APR has to be shown to you. You're going to have a finance charge. Again, a document that is shown to you. If you don't understand this, in other words, when somebody puts this in front of you, you better understand what the definitions are. then your total payment. But don't overlook the overall price. That's what you're looking at. You clearly want the lowest price, but you also have to know those terms. And again, I'll have a video on the terminology used by dealerships. And then check your paperwork. Always be certain that if you're not comfortable, walk away. Always going to be a car for sale. Now, ask questions, finalize the financing before you sign the contract, when it's going to be delivered, if it's being produced. In other words, when there's a high demand. I know for EVs, electrical vehicles, there was a long wait time. If you put a deposit down, is it fully refundable? At what point are you obligated? At what point can you walk away? Make sure you have a copy of all the documents. Don't walk away unless you have everything in hand. Pay attention to the details after you drive away. In other words, when you're talking to these folks, say, look, if there's any problems within the warranty period, where do I go? How do I do it? Who do I talk to? What are the phone numbers? What are the emails, etc.? Your loan servicer might be different from your original lender. In other words, if you're using lender approved financing, they're going to sell that loan off. So make sure you know whoever is servicing your loan. And then comparing auto loans, here is just a document here. You can print this out and then you can keep track here. But that's an overview, maybe an overextended narrative on closing the deal. I have a lot of different videos on this. Why? Because the vehicle is a US thing where Americans always want to drive from point A to point B. And it's a key component of life in the United States. So let me know. Let me know your experiences. Let me know if it's been a pretty straightforward process, whether you ran into nightmares, whether the car was a lemon, etc., etc. Brad Williams, Frugal Finance. Thanks for watching. See you soon.